Welcome to Megapath Presents. I'm Ronnie Hayes, and today let's talk about the new issue of the Walking Dead comic, 181. Before we dive into the review of the issue, I just want to let you guys know, for those who missed it, there's a variant cover coming out in, this might be October. I think I got it mixed up. This is a variant in issue 1 drawn by the artist now, Charlie Adler, and it is a remake of issue 1 that was drawn by original artist Tony Moore. This is going to be a hot item, so if you want to grab this, go ahead and hit up your local comic book shops and ask them to stock it when it comes in. Now, today we're going to be talking about this issue 191. There's also the variant with Glenn, and every month there's a variant face with a new character. The next issue is 182. This is a cover that I actually didn't see before. I didn't see it announced. I didn't see it released, but it looks like it's Pamela Milton from the Commonwealth meeting up with, is his name John, from the Sanctuary, the guy who's running the Sanctuary now. Which, like I said, is interesting because the Sanctuary didn't seem like they wanted to have anything to do with what Rick and Alexandria are up to. So with that issue, not really any predictions other than maybe Rick decides to bring them to that location to look at all the communities, because in the current issue we're about to review, he takes her to Oceanside. I just would feel like they would leave the Sanctuary community out of the mix since they wanted to get out of it. Alright, so the variant cover for 182 is this Maggie cover, and I think, yeah, and then I showed you guys the cover for 183. It looks like riots breaking out at the Commonwealth. And the variant for 183 is the Ezekiel cover. Now, some of these covers are hit and miss. Now, I think the artwork, the actual skill in the artwork or talent in the artwork is fantastic on every single cover. But some of the characters are just hit and miss. I think Carl was a miss for me, but some of them are definitely great. And I love this Ezekiel cover. I even like the Maggie one. The Maggie one has a little too much blur to it. If you look back here, there's just a little too much blur in that artwork. But I still really like it, and I really like the Glenn one. I think there's only a handful that are, it's the character look. It just, I don't know, it's just not my cup of tea. And the last thing before we get into the issue, if you guys don't know, they're releasing this on, well, it says 7/19 here, so it might be before San Diego Comic-Con. I think San Diego Comic-Con is like 21st or something like that. So, yeah, this might hit the website a few days before that. It's a 4-pack of unreleased Rick in the sheriff uniform, and then we have the Rick with the 15-year celebration stamp on it. That's the, you know, comic series Rick, and it's repainted. And then we have a repainted New Beginning Rick, and then obviously the most hyped, the Rick in cosplay Negan. That's cool. That's based off of a cover that was released. It's not like in the story for anyone who is a TV fan, but you're not really into the comic book. So anyway, issue 181 for me was, it was good. It was okay. Well, I don't know. There's something with this storyline where it's not doing the same thing for me as the Whisperer War, for example. I think I really dig the creepiness of the Whisperer War storyline, even before they got to the Whisperer War, but the Whisperers finding the Hilltop community, and even though, like, the one cover where they were, right when they found a community and they were kind of spying on it, I just loved so much about that. This new storyline with the Commonwealth, I feel like we're not getting a lot of information with the Commonwealth. We're just getting a little bit. It's kind of like a slow build up, slow burn. So like I said, it's a good story, but at the same time, it's not like, it's not blowing my mind just yet, but we need to give it some room to simmer. Now in this issue, just to recap, Rick is showing her the Oceanside community. We see some of the Oceanside again. This is a community we haven't seen a lot in depth at all. So we do see a little bit of the oceanfront or the inlet as, what's that guy? That I forget his name, the bald head who's like an assistant to Pamela Milton. And then as they're traveling, I would assume to a different community, when they're leaving Oceanside, they see a huge herd. So then they fight off this herd with Rick's group and the Commonwealth group working together. And there's a scene with Princess that justifies this cover, or makes this cover make sense. Princess and Mercer work together. They have a little moment. And again, that moment, maybe that's great for other people. For me, it's two characters we're becoming introduced to. So whether these characters continue on a relationship, I'm at that stage where I'm like, nah, I don't really care yet until we get a little more attached to these characters. I think if it was a character that, like if Mercer has been around for a little bit and Princess has been around for a little bit, the moment would have done something a little more. But as it sits, it didn't really do much. But again, we need to give these characters time to grow on us. As far as Rick in this issue giving Princess some looks, I love that, because he gives her these looks like, bitch, are you okay? Maybe that's not the intention, but I loved it anyway. And then they do conclude the little battle they had, highlighting Mercer's annoyance with the governor. And that's because she screws up and she plays it off. Either she plays it off like, I don't make any mistakes, I was just testing you, or, you know, or she really was testing him, or she plays it off like, I was just testing you. Either way, she screwed up. She shouldn't have done that. It's unnecessary to put those people in dangerous situations just to either test them or for them to show off. I mean, things can go wrong. You can get overrun quickly and yada, yada, yada. So we start understanding more and more about where he's coming from. That's a bullshit move for her to do, especially as a leader. You'd want to test your group, sure, but not in those circumstances, you know, not in an environment that is uncontrollable. I mean, anything could have happened. So you kind of see his feeling like they're being used, not cared about, not treated like a human, not treated with respect. So that's pretty much it with the Commonwealth and the Alexandria group coming together. But we get little bits of story, in between those moments, with Carl meeting Joshua. Joshua is the kid who his family just met up with the Whisperers, and they were being recruited in with them freshly. So they're not twisted. They weren't even really agreeing with the Whisperer ways. And Maggie was sitting down with Jesus and Aaron, talking about, is Beta dead? And they said, oh yeah, we're sure about that. It's over. The Whisperers are done. And I feel like either Kirkman has Whisperers out there and it's kind of like a mislead, or he's poking fun at the fans because he said, yeah, the Whisperers kind of went out with a whimper, you know? And that's a lot of fans said that. I felt that because I thought when we were preparing for the Whisperer War, I had this idea that we were having Whisperers disguised as walkers led into the town, and everyone in town in Alexandria think they're fighting this walker herd, when in reality you have Whisperers opening up doors. I mean, just imagine that. You got a certain group hiding in a building, maybe survivors at Alexandria, just civilians, and they're like, okay, zombies can't get in houses, we're okay. And then a Whisperer opens up the door and leads zombies into the house. Then it's like, oh my God, we're trapped. We can hear them downstairs. So now the tension builds because you see one of our heroes notices this. So one of our heroes has to come, but you got to fight the zombies and you got to fight the Whisperers mixed in with the zombies. So when you think you're fighting zombies out of nowhere, the potential to get stabbed in the back by a Whisperer is even greater. I was envisioning something along the lines of that. So when the Whisperer War really happened, it did kind of go out with a whimper. Anyway, so I do feel like he was poking fun at fans for that. Or there is some more to the Whisperer storyline. Now, don't twist my words up. I don't really think that. I think the Whisperers are done, and whether you loved how it ended or not, that's up to you. So I think the Whisperer storyline in the very beginning is one of my all-time favorite in the entire series of The Walking Dead to this date. It just didn't end that well. I am really curious to see where the Commonwealth storyline is going to go, because we are seeing the conflict that is building up back at the Commonwealth, but where the story goes I feel is really going to kick us off into the next big conflict. And I don't mean war. I just mean simply interesting, tension-filled conflict in the world of The Walking Dead. So, like I said, it's a good read, but I feel like this type of, or this particular issue where it stands in the story is best read in maybe a trade paperback or the hardcover book or even a compendium. One of those issues where you can burn through if you're, like when I first started reading, I read the compendium, or no, I read the trade paperback #1, and I was able to burn through that, got a compendium, and some people told me, oh, didn't this part in the prison story bore you a little bit? And I was like, no, not at all, because I had the compendium. I could burn through it, you know? I feel like this fits that style of reading a little better, and maybe that's why I feel like, yeah, it's a good story, but I felt like I wanted a little more, and that's because it is what it needs to be for that one little sliver of story that we get each month. But I want to see what comes after this. So yeah, we got to wait another month for some more story. So you guys leave your thoughts and opinions. What did you think about the Walking Dead issue 181? Let me make sure that's what it is. It says Together Strong. Let me know what you think about these two characters. And again, this cover is kind of like a remake of a different cover with Abraham in the back and Michonne in the front. I do like how they did that. They mirrored the old with the new. But you guys put your thoughts and opinions down in that comment box. What do you think of this story? And what do you think is going to be the big conflict coming up in the world of The Walking Dead? I'm done talking. It's your turn.